thank you very much for coming out of that lovely, warm, sunny, light day, chill dark. Here, I'm touched by that, it's nice. I thought I'd read a bit. You never know what to read when you don't know your audience. And I never know whether to read something. I quite like reading filthy things, and then I discover that afterwards it feels like a dirty old man, particularly reading to young people. So I won't read anything dirty. I don't really mean dirty. I'll read a bit from Finkler Question. We have to say the Man Booker Prize. You're not allowed to say Booker Prize, the man, because the man who took over the running, which is a finance company, who took over the Man Booker Prize, hate it when you leave their name out. Since Booker, the distributors of food, have got nothing to do with it anymore, and Man do, it's tough on Man if you just say Booker. Sorry, I'm not ticking you off. It's just a sort of, I don't have much information about anything, but here's a little bit of information about this, so I give it to you. So I thought I'd read a tiny bit from the Finkler Question, and then a little bit too from another novel, a novel of mine, two before the Finkler Question, which was Kaluki Nights, which lots of people thought would win the Man Booker Prize, and didn't for all sorts of nefarious reasons. And sometimes people say to me, don't you wish, don't you feel you got it for the wrong novel? Don't you think the Kaluki Nights should have won it? To which the answer I give is the answer any writer would give: I should have won it for both. And in fact, there was an earlier novel called The Mighty Waltzer, which was about growing up in Manchester and playing table tennis. A novel often referred to as the greatest table tennis novel ever written. And if you can think of a rival for that, you've done more reading than anybody else has. So I would have been happy to have won this prize 3 times, but I settled now to have won it once for the Finkler. And I'll read a little bit from Finkler. This is a bit, just to fill you in on this. It's only short. I only like reading short things, really, because I can't bear listening to writers going on and on and on. There are 3 men. The Finkler Question is the story of 3 men. They are friends. It's a novel about friendship as much as it's anything else. And I'm going to read you now something about the oldest of the men. He's called Libor Sevcik. He was born in Czechoslovakia. He moved to England when he was quite young. He worked in the World Service for the BBC and then became a very well-known show business journalist. In love with his wife for 60 years. The wife dies, and he, in his late 80s, early 90s, is heartbroken. One of the things that made me want to write about this, one of the things is that as you approach your own age, you become more and more obsessed with age and how other people deal with what's coming. But also, it struck me seeing several people that age, who I just happen to have met them in the last few years, how intensely the fires still burn. The fires not only of desire, but of love and affection and of memory. And this is a book very much about memory. So if I won, I think probably it was the character of Libor which won this novel the prize. That was my sense of it. That Libor, the melancholy of Libor's life, a man in his early 90s, missing, not knowing how to live now without the woman that he loved for 60 years. His friends are very worried about the fact that he seems to be going downhill on his own, and they organise female company for him. And this is the night he goes out with this younger woman. Oh, I should just say one thing, just so I don't have to interrupt the reading. The wife is called, her name will be mentioned in this passage. The dead wife is called Malki. And here he is with the young woman. What's your favourite colour? She asks. Mozart. And your star sign? My eyesight. No, your star sign. Star. Oh, star! Jane Russell. So had begun Libor's first date of his widowhood. The girl, she must have been in her late 30s, but that still made her a girl to Libor, did not appear to know who Jane Russell was. Libor wondered where the problem lay, in the accent he had not quite lost, or the hearing he had not quite kept. It was beyond his comprehension that Jane Russell could somehow simply be forgotten. Russell, he spelt it out, R-U-S-S-E-L-L. Jane, J-A-N-E, beautiful big. He did the thing men do, or used to do, weighing the fullness of a woman's breasts in front of him like a merchant dealing in sacks of flour. His date for the evening looked away. She had no chest to speak of herself, Libor realised, and must therefore have been affronted by his mercantile gesture. Though, if she'd had a chest, she might have been more affronted still. The things you had to remember with a woman you hadn't been married to for more than half a century. The feelings you had to take into account. A great sadness overcame him. He wanted to be back, laughing with Malky over it. And then I said, Libor, you didn't. I did, and then I did. Libor. Libor sighed, wanting it to be over, and showed the girl his hands. The flesh, disfigured with liver spots, was loose enough for her to slide her fingers under. It would peel clean away like the skin on a lightly roasted chicken. His knuckles were swollen, his fingernails dull and yellow and bent over at the ends. Then he ran his hands over his baldness and inclined his head. He had always been a balding man. Balding had suited him, but he was plucked clean by time now. The patina of extreme old age was on him. He wanted her to see her own reflection in his pate, measure all the time she had left in the dull mirror of his antiquity. He could tell she couldn't figure out what he was showing her. When he used to present his bald head to Malky, she would polish it with her sleeve. It used to excite her, not just the head, but the act of polishing it, as though he were her furniture. And it amused him to be her furniture. You could open my drawers whenever you like, he would say, and she would laugh, cuff him with her sleeve. At the end, when she was dying in front of his eyes, they had talked dirty to each other. It was their defence against pathos. She wanted him to laugh because they had laughed so often together. Laughter had been his most precious gift to her, and now, at the last, she wanted laughter to be her final gift to him. I'm sorry, he told the girl, calling for the bill. This isn't fair to you. She was as relieved as he was when they parted. And now I'll read something slightly different, from Youth, Not Age, from Kaluki Nights. Also a novel about memory. Memory seems to have become my subject recently. I wonder why. And this is a novel really about, it's a kind of Holocaust novel without the Holocaust being in it. It's about boys growing up in Manchester, my kind of age, growing up in the 50s in Manchester, and first reading about the Holocaust because it wasn't much known about for a decade. My parents certainly didn't talk about it much. And then a book came out called The Scourge of the Swastika by Lord Russell of Liverpool, which was a very disturbing book because it had illustrations which at 14 you're not really equipped to look at. And this novel really is the story about the effect, simply the effect that reading about the Holocaust had on these kids. It's the derangement, sexual as well as, not least. Well, you see, this passage doesn't talk about that, but anyway, it catches something. It's about locating, really. It's about memory. It's about the location of language and where the language of memory resides. And I should talk about it. I'll read it. This is the hero who grows up to be a cartoonist. He's very quiet at the beginning of his life and doesn't say a word. His parents are very, very worried about him. His father is an atheist, Jewish family. His father is an atheist and wants none of it. Just doesn't forget all that. We're living in England now. Forget all that. Let's have a new English life. He hates it all. And the mother is not like that, but she's also Jewish, but she doesn't really know what Jewishness is. She plays a lot of Kaluki, which is a much-loved, rather pointless card game, much loved by Jewish women of a certain age, and she plays that. That's what her Jewishness consists of. The father's Jewishness consists of rejecting it. and the little boy is quiet and doesn't say a word. Until one afternoon, sitting on my mother's lap in a train bringing us back from an afternoon on a cold New Brighton beach, I said, "Juju, Juju, Juju." Sounds to me that he was imitating the train, my father guessed, when my mother excitedly told everybody about it later. Am I right, Maxie? Was that the sound the engine made? Choo-choo, choo-choo, choo-choo. Ju-ju, I said, clamping my teeth around the J's. Ju-ju, ju-ju. What about the whistle then? Woo-woo, woo-woo. I shook my head. Ju-ju, I said. Ju-ju, ju-ju. He gave me a cold stare, as though I'd informed him I wanted to be a rabbi when I grew up, or that it was my ambition to return to the Russia we never talked about. Novorossiysk, as he called it, a nowhere place of piss and sick, near where the Danube spilled its shit into the Black Sea, spiritual, if not actual, home of my uncle, Sudreta Reich. You're doing, my father told my mother. My doing? Kaluki this, Kaluki that. Kaluki's the only word the kid ever hears. What's Kaluki got to do with anything? How do you expect him to grow up in a world free of all that shtetl rubbish if you won't stop reminding him of it? Kaluki nights, Kaluki, night and day Kaluki. We live in Krumsel in the 20th century, not Kaluki in the Middle Ages. Jack, Kaluki's a game, not the name of a shtetl. Isn't it? Well, that's what you say. Whereupon he stormed out of the house. Years later, I looked up Kaluki in an atlas to see whether there was such a place within spitting or sicking distance of Novorossiysk. I couldn't find one, but there was a Kolosha in Hungary and a Kaluga 100 miles to the southwest of Moscow on the left bank of the Oka, and a Kalush in the Ukraine, where Jews had lived and been submitted to the usual indignities. So maybe he was confusing Kaluki collectively with those, the marshlands of our hellish past. It's possible I imagined it, but after the Jew incident, I thought my father shrank from me a little, as a man will shrink in fear and loathing from the ghost of someone he thought he'd murdered and disposed of long ago. And it's not impossible that his atheistical socialist friends shrank from me as well, the little cancer in the body of their hope for change. They needn't have worried. I have not become a rabbi, nor have I been back to Novorossiysk. Unless hearing Juju, Juju, Juju whenever a train goes through a tunnel amounts to the same as any of all those. To that hypersensitivity, at least, I plead guilty. I am one for whom a train can never again be just a train. First, I have to inquire whom the train, please, is carrying, then who commissioned it, then where its ultimate destination is. Juju, Juju, the Auschwitz Express. I'll leave it at that, I think.